Hello, welcome to Realcomm Live. I'm Tom Shircliff with Alosanar, and I'm here with Brian Ball of NetVendor, and we're going to talk about vendor management today. And before you give your little bit bio, I just want to tell you I've done vendor management very poorly in the past. So this may come across more as a therapy session than an interview, so just work with me, okay?
Absolutely. We're used to that.
So tell us about yourself and your background, a little bit about the company, and then I've got a lot of questions.
Sure. So Brian Ball, I've been in the prop tech industry about 20 years. Different parts of the industry, from core management solutions to several ancillary solutions across payments and payables and receivables. So I've kind of seen a little bit of everything. And that's why when NetVendor reached out to me last year to see if I'd be interested in joining the company to push into commercial, I was very excited because I've always worked well with NetVendor. I've sent lots of clients to them, so I know it's an amazing product that really dominates the multifamily side. So the opportunity to take that and move into commercial was really appealing. So I joined the firm about 6 months ago, and we're off and running.
And that's been your charge, to take it into the new space?
Correct.
Wow.
Right.
So maybe just to frame it, since again you're bringing it new to the space, but a lot of people like me, it is new. How would you describe the craft of vendor management, and especially with regard to software?
Sure. So vendor management, definition is really everything related to your interactions with your vendors, from the first time you find them, contracting, negotiating, maintenance, ongoing solutions, everything with your vendors is vendor management. Most people tend to think it's vendor compliance, but that's really just a part of overall vendor management. It's a big part, probably the biggest part, but it is just a piece. And that's a big differentiator between NetVendor and some other solutions. A lot of the solutions out there are really glorified data entry spreadsheets, really, because you're capturing the pertinent data like expiration dates and contracts, that sort of thing, but then it's very static. And you're just leaving it up to your team to stay on top of monitoring dates and expirations and all of those things, which they have lots of other things that they're doing. Yeah. So if the software platform isn't proactively looking at those for you, you are going to let things slip through the cracks.
But what am I, okay, so it's better than just keeping a spreadsheet and
Yes.
checkbox, but what are the big outcomes, the business outcomes of it, or KPIs? What am I really trying to get from it?
Sure. So the big one everybody focuses on, and rightly so, is compliance from an insurance standpoint.
Okay.
You don't want vendors on your property who don't have insurance. So a KPI there would be 100% compliance. You want to look back and say, we had no vendors on our properties who didn't have valid insurance. So that's the big one right there.
And I was going to say, so now with compliance, and of course that gets to risk.
Correct.
Any performance type things, or does that get into another category, vendor performance?
Oh no, you can absolutely track that. One way is by having your staff who works with these vendors every day rate them. So we provide that
in the tool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just your usual 5-star rating with notes, which they can then mark people as preferred. And so as a manager, you can see where your staff are rating these vendors and maybe decide we might need a new vendor for this property or this portfolio.
So maybe one step down from the outcomes, what about some of the more granular things that I'm tracking? I think we were saying, we were discussing this previously, like a license and
Sure.
what other granular things?
Oh yeah, I mean, you can get all the way into tracking licenses for construction licenses or whatever other licensure people need to perform the work. We can track that as well.
And do they answer those questions, or are you checking that against some other database?
Right, so that's really a big difference where I said some places are just a glorified data entry machine. Right. NetVendor has humans behind that are physically checking those documents, reaching out
Brian, not in the world of AI. You got humans?
All right. Yeah, AI is the solution to everything, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's good.
So we do use AI on the front end just for efficiency purposes, just kind of doing some of the manual labor up front, but we have humans who are checking every detail. We're not trusting AI.
And does that include background checks?
Yes.
It can be for individuals inside of vendors?
Correct.
That's pretty granular.
It could be. Now, most people don't want to go that deep.
Okay, gotcha, yeah.
But we certainly can.
You can, right,
yes.
right. So, and you touched on this earlier, but how is this different than what you might find in the rest of the industry?
Right.
Why are you different?
So the first thing is most other platforms come at it from the data collection side and then try to move into compliance. We come at it from compliance first, which that sets the foundation for successful vendor relationships, because you know everyone's compliant, or else you don't move on to those other things. So the other way is kind of going at it backwards.
Right. Don't pass go.
Correct.
Yeah, gotcha.
So start there.
What is a buyer persona like, or does it vary by the customer?
It varies by customer and company size, but typically we usually get the call from a property manager or a regional who's just fed up with trying to keep up with all this information. But ultimately, we usually end up working with the accounting department, CFOs, because it ultimately flows under risk, and that's where the CFOs get really interested.
And is that at a property level or often at the corporate level?
It's almost always at the corporate level.
Okay.
The problems are identified at the property level,
Yeah.
and it works its way up.
And you have, of course, the customer that you're working with and the properties, and then the vendors themselves. Are they both customers?
They are, and so that's an interesting way that we look at it, is even though our contract is with you initially, all of your vendors are our customers. And we're actually working for them as well. We're reaching out to their insurance carriers on their behalf and making sure they're remaining compliant. So we're doing work for both of them.
And so you don't have to have a one-to-one. A vendor doesn't have to be currently at one of your customers. Can you pile up the vendors in your system?
We can. In fact, we have such a large database of vendors now, almost 300,000.
What?
Right, it's a big number. We've
Yeah.
been around 20 years. So a lot of our customers now use us as a marketplace to go find new vendors as they're going to new markets or they just want to change things up. We have this big list of vendors that you know are compliant. They've worked with other
okay.
managers. They know the industry.
And they might even say, hey, we're NetVendor compliant. Or...
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And you can see the ratings from other property management companies.
Okay, now in my contract to do this, it said we had to talk about AI.
Correct. Everybody, you have to.
So can you tell us about how you're looking at it and how you're using it and how you're not, maybe?
Yeah, so what we're not doing is just letting AI run everything and make decisions.
Okay.
Some people are trying that. We're actually getting some of those customers now because they've realized AI is not perfect. And in this world, you need to be as close to perfect as possible. So we're using AI on the front end, basically to scan the documents as they come in from the insurance carriers or from the backgrounds. But we have humans who are actually looking at them. Most of our staff there have insurance licenses, so they truly understand what they're looking at. They don't just see a number and that's it. So we're using AI to speed things up, but we're not at the point where we trust it to do everything.
And is that because of the subject matter expertise and the history? I mean, you're using AI, and like I said, not letting it, but is that the difference, I guess, between maybe a customer says, hey, I can go create an agent tonight, but that's going to be missing something,
Correct.
right?
You certainly could create an agent that can do this. I've talked to people that have done it.
Oh,
but then
on compliance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But they do acknowledge that it's not 100% correct. There's so
Right.
many nuances in insurance that you really need someone who knows what they're looking at. And not just any human, you need someone who actually knows insurance. Because if you're not familiar with all the terms, you might think you have the coverage you need, but you really don't.
So will you let AI continue to creep in as long as you have control and subject matter expertise? Is that the plan?
Exactly, that's the plan, is as AI gets better and better, we will slowly incorporate it where it makes sense. I don't ever see a point where humans are not in the equation, but taking some of those manual repetitive tasks off the plate of our staff is really where AI is going to be used the most.
So what's the business model that you use? Is it square feet, per person, per vendor? Just generally frame out the business model.
Right, so we use a vendor pay model. So when you become a NetVendor client, we reach out to all of your vendors to onboard them. They pay an annual fee, and then we process all of their background checks, their COIs, and present all that data to you in your dashboard. The vendors, some balk at it at first, I'll be honest, but then they realize that we're actually doing a lot of work for them, so they can stay out in the field working while we're handling their insurance issues.
So maybe can we summarize? Can you just summarize briefly the sort of the end-to-end process of when somebody just gets started? Just
Right.
in general?
Sure. So we bring a new customer on, we reach out to their vendors, we gather all the documents that you need from COIs, contracts, background checks, all those sorts of things. They're in our ecosystem, and then all of your interactions with your vendors, other than paying them, can take place in our ecosystem. Communications, bidding, finding new vendors, all of that's in NetVendor.
Wow. Well, like I said at the beginning, where were you 10 years ago when I needed you?
I had more hair.
Well, thanks so much. That was fantastic. And I think it's a very thoughtful approach and a very deep approach on a very important topic.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks again.